Hey guys, here we are again with another Pilates video. We're gonna take it a little bit easier this time, a little bit more improver level. So we'll bring ourselves into our quad position to start off with. So onto our mat on all fours, and let's get the backs moving straight away. So even though it's an improver level, you can always modify it and make it a little bit more difficult or easier as always if needs be. So round the back up. Tuck the chin and opposite way. Breathe in and breathe out. Full movement into the spine to mobilize that back, neck, hips, pelvic tilt as much as you can. Try and get that arch into that lower back just above the hips. Nice and controlled, nice and comfortable movement. Less movement if you have to. Let's start bracing that center, so belly button draws gently in, just gently, and the pelvic floor muscles gently contracted again. The two hip bones at the front are wrapping around towards that belly button and drawing it in gently as well. Once more, each way, round it up, tuck the chin, and opposite way, bringing it back to the center. From there, opposite arm, opposite leg. Back stays nice and in line, lengthen the arm out in front of the shoulder, the leg back behind as always, and nice long body position. Comfortable on those wrists at all times. Try to keep that lower back in position. And nice controlled movement. Breathe out as you lengthen. Breathe in as you control it back. Make sure you keep that breathing going throughout. Let's keep that movement going opposite. Arm opposite leg. But let's bring the arm out to the side. The leg stays going back behind. You're still trying to keep those shoulders square. Lift the hand as high as it will go, comfortable on the outside of the shoulder, on that shoulder joint. And again, full movement. So staying in that quad position makes things a little bit easier. So like I said, a little bit more improver level today. In the tougher classes, you can always revert back to this position if needs be. So when you're in your plank position, you can always come back down onto the knees and stay in an easier exercise like this. That's if that plank position doesn't suit, of course. Once more, each side. Leg lengthens back. Arm out to the side, working on those muscles all around that shoulder joint. And back to mobilizing the spine. Round it up. Straight away, we should feel a little bit, maybe slightly freer movement. Muscles are a little bit freer, a little bit warmer. And aim to move to the point of a stretch every time to maximum movement. To get the benefit out of all that movement. Once more. And back to the center. From there, we're lifting one leg up. It's 90 degrees. Press that foot up towards the ceiling. Get those glutes working at the back. Lower back in position, so be aware of that position, of that lower back area, that it's not starting to bend our spine. Keep that center, that abdominal area nice and firm. Connect to that powerhouse. Those abdominals, brace, pelvic floor gently contracted. Breathe out as you lift. Breathe in as you control it back down. Again, We're not looking for speed. There's plenty of different types of exercise that we can work on. Fast movement, where you can work on your cardio exercise. Pilates is designed to be different, and that's why it's so good for injuries, so good for the muscles, so good for core strength, because it works the muscles in a different way. Once more each side, and keep those arms nice and strong. And let's straighten back our left leg. Right arm is off into our rotation again to open up the spine in rotation. Turning that body as much as you can. Once more, and changing. Right leg stretches back, toes stay on the ground, left arm comes off and lengthen through. Turn. So this shoulder stays still, but those muscles are working because the body is moving on that shoulder. So it creates a very different workout for the shoulder compared to a lot of other exercises. Once more, stretch it through, open out. We're going to change again. Left leg goes back, right arm is off once more. This time we're going to bend our supporting arm. Make sure that you don't go down and end up on the mat and lose your balance. So still opening up to the ceiling. Open up to that right hand side, and as you stretch it through, bend your left elbow and stretch it through. Keep it controlled, otherwise that shoulder can come under too much strain. And a little bit more work for those chest muscles now. You're almost coming into, and make sure the back is comfortable. Back can sometimes, because we're dropping and we're turning as well, that back can sometimes come under pressure. Make sure it's not a fast movement. If there is any lower back issues, then less movement. Don't stretch it through. Once more, and a little bit more work for that arm. Right leg goes back, left arm is off, stretching it through, bend the elbow and turn. So you get that flexibility as you go high. You get a little bit of a different work as you go under. Keep that abdominal area nice and strong. Try and keep that shoulder away from the ear as well, so as you go down, you're not bringing that shoulder forward, it's drawn a little bit more back behind. Comfortable on the elbow. Two more. And gently back up from there. Bring the two hands wide. Sit back a little bit, hands wide, and let's move our bodies from side to side. So the aim is to stretch the chest muscle and the upper arm as you go. You don't need to change the hand position. It's one arm bends, one arm straightens. I'll even turn this way just to demonstrate that a little bit better, and you'll see it a lot better. So your body is gently moving, you're not forcing that arm into the ground, and opening up the arm, the upper arm and the chest, shoulder joint a little bit as well, front of the shoulder. Nice and gentle. If that doesn't suit the shoulder or puts any pressure on that shoulder, don't push it down as much. Just work with comfortable movement. Once more each side. And we're back, hands back in underneath the shoulders. From there, curl the toes and let's lift. So lift the knees off. It's just a small lift and rest back down. Breathe out as you lift and back down. Try not to be very rounded so your body is very tall. Shoulders back and down and lift. So when you lift, it's just the knees coming up, hips slightly come up with them, but the whole body doesn't come up too high, it's just a little lift. Breathe out as you lift and gently back down. Breathe out as you lift, breathe in as you come back down. Nice lateral breath, ribs expand and out. Bracing that center all the time. Once more. And gently rest it back. Slide the hands front. And let's move. Spines gently bending, sitting back, pushing the chest into the ground, and coming forward as well. Nice and controlled into that extension. Once more. Sit back, hold the stretch, let things relax. Slide the hands further forward if you want. Let's get a big breath in. We'll get 2 breaths in this position before we come back up. Once more. And from there, bringing it back up. We're going to come down onto the elbows and we're going to bring the knee out to the side. Let's try and keep our balance in this exercise. So the 2 knees are under the hips, the elbows are under the shoulders or thereabouts, comfortable in the shoulder joints, and lift the knee out to the side. No changing, let's stay with that one hip. Straight away there's more downward pressure. My right hip is lifting, so my right shoulder takes more weight. Keep that right shoulder comfortable. If there's any issue in that shoulder that doesn't feel right, you're back up on the hands. As the right leg goes out, let's not lean to the left hand side. Okay, so lift, control it back down. Abdominals firm. Lift, control it back down. Once more. And changing to the other side. Lift, control it back down. So those arms are strong to keep you in position. The abdominals are firm, no pressure in the back. Let's not adjust our body position. The only thing that moves is that one hip and below it. Breathe out. Controlling it back down. Once more. Try and get that little pause at the top. From there, back up onto the hands. Let's step the foot outside, drop the shoulder. Let's stay with that hip. We're going back to that position where we lift the hip, the foot imprints on the ceiling, bring it forward, step it outside. Let's try and move my right hip as much as we can. So, regardless of whether it's your right or your left, you're staying on that same. Lean gently into it and open up those hips. My foot is stepping to the front outside of my hand. Smaller movement, always going to be easier. Remember, less movement is your easier option. Once more. And change. Lift. And step it outside. Opening up the hips. So what we're trying to do is get lots of stretches into the hips. Keeping the movement going. Nice dynamic movement and stretches. Dynamic stretching. We're not staying there for too long. Quick 1 to 2 second stretch. And we're out of there. Once more. Opening up those inner thighs, bring it back. From there, we're back down onto the elbows and we lift the knees. Again, this time we straighten the legs. Push the heels, touch the knees. So the shoulders take some weight, the knees down along the back of the legs. Find that stretch in this position. Heels are pushing to the mat, they won't touch the mat unless you bring your feet closer to you. Two more repetitions. Touch the knees, no resting at the bottom, and gently back down. Let's come all the ways up, nice and tall, and into our hip flexor. So let's step the foot out in front, open up the hip, and into our hamstring. Hip flexor, front of the hip, and into our hamstring. The upper body leans back as you stretch your hip at the front, leans forward as you straighten that leg. Feel the stretch down along the back of the leg and at the front of the hip. So great exercise to open up those hips. Once more each one, and changing to the other side. Step the other foot out in front. Foot position can change. You can always go a little bit wider if needs be, and that changes that stretch always. Once more of each, and we're back into the quad position. But from there, let's lift and lower once more into that stretch down on the back of the legs, opening up the calves and hamstrings. Push the heels into the ground. You can feel that stretch down on the back of the legs. Let's drop the knees and lift the knees again. Drop, try and get a straight line, and back up. So you're not keeping your head down the whole time like that. Watch my rounded back posture. Bring it in line. Push the heels and drop it back down. You can rest each time if you have to. That is your easier option as always. Once more, finish out that repetition and sit back. Slide the hands forward and get that little bit of a rest. Get a couple of deep breaths into the body. And gently back up from there into our quad position. Once more, we're into opposite arm, opposite leg. Left leg goes back, right leg goes forward, right arm goes forward, and hold that opposite arm, opposite leg position. And let's just stay in that position. We're starting off in this position, but we're going to go to our plank position in a second. You can always stay in this position. And change, holding, lengthening. Let's not just stay in a relaxed position. Let's lengthen the arm, lengthen the leg, straighten them. So that center has to work a little bit more. That shoulder that's on the ground has to work. And whenever we hold a position, we concentrate on our breathing. Make sure everything is connected. Pelvic floor, center of the body, our core. Abdominal area nice and braced. Belly button drawn gently in. Lengthening, lifting the leg higher if you can. And gently bring it back down. Sit back, get a quick release on the arms. Slide them a little bit more forward if you have to. And we're coming up into our plank position. Stay with the previous exercise if you have to, or another option is just modify your plank. Stay on the knees. Let's lift. And let's hold that position. Shoulders away from those ears. Head not falling low as always. Keep it in line. Your neck is part of your spine. So remember that. Let's keep it that in line as much as you can as well. Nice big breaths. 10 more seconds. Gently resting it back down. Give it a little breather and we'll do that one more time. Nice big breaths. And again, if you stayed in your opposite arm, opposite leg position, you switch for the next one. Back up or modify your plank again. Lift and hold once more. Drop to the elbows if the wrists are an issue, but that does put more pressure on other areas. So make sure the back is comfortable. Again, you can always stay on the knees even if you're at the elbows, stay on the knees as well to keep that back comfortable, to keep the joints comfortable. Don't put the joints under any strain. Nice big breaths. 5 more seconds. And let's try and keep that plank position as best you can at all times. Sit back and take the pressure off the wrists, the arms, the shoulders. And let's bring it down flat. Let's get the hands out in front and let's gently lift ourselves up. Use the hands to get that gentle extension into the spine. Less height will be easier. And keep it nice and controlled. And sometimes with these extension exercises, your back may not allow. It might even allow you to lie down flat. So if you have any issues in the back, then get out of this position. You can do it in standing as well. Do a little bit of back extension in standing, which is easier again. But sometimes, depending on your back, may not allow it. So you can always just skip these type of exercises, and that doesn't mean you don't have to do a different type. You can come back up into your quad position and you can do a couple of those exercises in that position. Once more, hands by your side. Let's lift the shoulders off. Gently lifting the shoulders towards the hips. Breathe out as you lift and breathe in as you control it back down. Try and get that little pause at the top when everything is working the most, and then slowly back down. Last one. And from there we go to full stretch. Opposite arm, opposite leg in that position. Lift. Make sure the 2 hip bones stay on the mat, so feel that hip bone, that it's on the ground on both sides, so that you're working those glutes properly and no pressure on that lower back. Let's start bringing in a little bit of neck movement as well. So you're going to look forward as well as lift. So lift, control it back down. Look in front as you lift the arm and the leg. Try not to lift the upper body too much. Try and concentrate on just opposite arm, opposite leg. And then looking forward as we do it. Any issues with the necks, keep it in an easier position, a position that doesn't cause it any strain. Once more each side. Again, lengthening at all times. Draw the arms back, arms outside, and let's lift the upper back again. Legs are staying down. But again, if you do want to advance it, you can always lift them in a little bit. For the moment, keep them down because it's good to work the back muscles in this way, where the legs aren't moving, where the legs aren't lifting, and the hips are not helping the back. But again, comfortable on that lower back. If things come under too much pressure, you can always bring those hands back down by your side. Other than that, keep them up. Once more, and control it gently back down. From there, we lift everything off, keep the feet down. Little movement if needs be, bigger will put everything under more pressure, but keep it controlled. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Again, get that little pause at the top, control it back down. Once more, gently resting it back down, and we will go one last time, but this time we hold it. The arms are going to move forward and back, but we'll keep the legs on the ground. Lift to make it tougher. So lift the legs if you want, arms forward and back. Draw the arms back. Try and open up the chest by bringing those elbows and shoulders right back. Again, working the shoulders in a position that they don't spend a huge amount of time in. Due to our poor posture, rounded shoulder posture, sitting, desks, driving, hard to keep those shoulders in position. Once more, and gently rest it down. Let's stretch the backs, sit back and get that little stretch into the back. Again, nice big breaths as you do get your stretch. And gently back up. Quad position one more time. You can stay in the hands if you want, or drop to the elbows, but on all fours, knees underneath the hips, and we just lift and we hold that position. We'll be coming down onto our sides in a second. So from there, lift. Knees low, comfortable on the toes. If it's not, higher straight away, that makes it easier, and you still get a bit of work in the shoulders. But we want to try and be as close to our quad position as we can on all fours without the knees on the ground. Nice big breaths. 10 more seconds. 5 more. And gently rest it down. From there, let's bring ourselves down to our side. So remember, when we're doing our side leg series, or working those glutes on the outside, we want to work the muscles on the outside, the glutes on the outside. We do not want to be working the muscles at the front a little bit more, which happens when that top hip goes back. So let's make sure our top hip is directly above our bottom hip. We're lying down flat, shoulder comfortable that's underneath your head. Rest the head down, and from there the top hand can just gently support the front, just stop you from rolling forward and back. Make sure the bottom hip is comfortable as well. Let's lift and lower. Get the ankle moving, point at the bottom, turn the toes to the head at the top. Be very careful that the toes don't turn up. So I want you to try and keep them facing the way you are. So have a little look at them if you want, and if you need to keep your foot still, do for a little while. So toes towards, facing forward, directly in front, and keep them in that position. As you lift, you will possibly want to bring the leg in front. Don't Keep it in a straight line, directly above the other foot. You won't be able to lift as high, but you will concentrate on working those muscles on the outside of the hip. Brace the center, and let's try and engage those pelvic floor muscles as well. Breathe out as you lift. So that hand, keep that top shoulder relaxed as well. So be careful, are those toes turning up towards the ceiling. Once more. And gently rest it down. Bring that top leg to the front. Keep it straight, or you can bend it if needs be, and put the knee on the ground. Straight preferably, and that way you can keep yourself in a straight line. And lift that lower leg. Not a huge amount of movement in the lower leg in this position because the other leg gets in the way. If you just bring it as far forward as you can. And again, control it back down. Make sure your bottom hip is comfortable. If it's not, get something underneath it. Get something for more cushioning, because with some people that bony prominence on the outside, which is directly on the ground, that can come under pressure just by leaning on it. Once more, and gently rest it back down. From there, we lift again. This time, lift the leg and circle it around. Use the hand for a little bit of balance, because as the leg goes forward, then so will you. Let's get the ankle moving again. The bigger the movement, the tougher it will be. If you can bring a little bit more forward, do. Keep that hip comfortable. Let's reverse it. Again, center nice and strong. The only movement is your hip, is your leg. Everything else stays still. We're not rolling to the side. As that leg goes forward, we don't roll forward. Once more. And gently rest that leg down. Give that leg a little bit of a breather. From there, let's bring it up. And let's spin around. So let's bring it all the way to the other side of the mat. And it's the exact same thing. So, stretch. Rest that head again on that shoulder. But if that shoulder is uncomfortable, bend it. Get a different position for that shoulder. Maybe elbow out in front, hand supporting the head. Might take the pressure off. And again, let's lift and lower. Let's get our body in position once more. Lift, straight up and straight down. Again, remember, toes are not pointing up, which is rotating your hip. Keep them pointing forward, facing forward, so there's no change in that hip in rotation. It's abducting it up, controlling it back down. So abducting it away from the other leg and controlling it back down. And again, control it back down, because those muscles that do that movement will work better on the way down. Lift, control it back down. So those muscles on the outside of the hip, you really feel those working if you're doing that exercise correctly, if you're getting that position right. And sometimes it can be hard for some people to get that right. It's about awareness, but with practice, as always, the better you get. Once more, control it back down. Leg to the front, bottom leg lifts. So working those muscles in the inner thighs, again direct connection between the inner thigh muscles, which go right up deep towards that pelvic floor area. So make sure we get that pelvic floor contracted, that double contraction, side to side, front to back, two different muscles. Muscles that stop you from going to the toilet. Breathe out, breathe in. Bottom hip comfortable all the time. Center nice and strong. Lift and lower. Last rep. Controlling it back down. Two legs, one on top of the other again. And we circle it. So bringing it forward and around. Use that top arm for a little bit of balance this time. Get a little bit of ankle movement again. Try and turn the toes towards the head as they go forward. The further you go forward, out in front, the more work it will be, not just for the hip, but for the center of the body as well. A little bit of pressure on that shoulder as well. Keep that area comfortable. Keep the length in the leg as well. Keep the knee as straight as you can. Those muscles in the leg and up along will work a little bit more. Reverse it. Again, the body stays still. All that's moving is that leg. These can be generally quite tough exercises because we don't do them enough, and they're very different. And those hips can be quite, because they can get quite tight due to posture, then they really have to work in these exercises. Last one, and gently rest it down. From there, let's turn onto our backs. Let's get a little stretch into the hips. Bring the feet nice and wide. And from there, drop your right knee to your left ankle. Bringing it back, changing sides. Let's try and get a little bit of movement in the spine now as well. So let's moving from side to side. Let your lower back, let that space come in that lower back. How much is up to you? How much movement do you have? Don't force it. And try and touch your knee off the ground each way. If there's any restriction in the hip, in the muscles, in the joint, in that rotation, then you won't be able to get that knee down. You'll feel that stretch at that front of the hip, but again, keep that back comfortable. It will move that back as well. Let's add a little bit more into that stretch. Let's bring the arms back behind. Of course, as always, this is optional. And now, as that knee goes to the ground, we stretch the arm back. My right knee is going to my left ankle, so both knees going to the left. My right knee is heading towards that left ankle, and my right arm lengthens back behind. You can even roll a little bit onto your side. So you get that stretch all the ways down along towards between the ribs and the hip. Again, keep it comfortable, keep it controlled. Just gently mobilizing. You're not going to improve your flexibility a huge amount in one session. It takes time, it takes repetitions, it takes practice to improve your flexibility. It takes everyday practice. So remember that. The more you do it, then the more you're going to improve that flexibility. Once more each side. And gently back to the center. From there, let's peel the spine off. So, into our shoulder bridge, peel off, and imprint back down. Pelvic tilt at the bottom. Dip the pubic bone towards the mat and peel off. And this peeling motion and imprinting is an exercise that some people neglect because it's a little bit tougher when we go onto one leg and there's a lot more work. People forget about the mobility part of this exercise. So let's mobilize the spine. This is extremely important. Once more. And let's keep the hips up nice and high. From there, drop and lift again. So as always, up into that straight line, hips up in line. No resting at the bottom. Touch the hips off the ground and lift them straight up again. In that position, let's go up onto our toes. Pull the feet in a little bit more towards you, and let's stay as high as you can, and let's get our arms moving. So bring the arms back behind and back down by our side. Keep the straight line, shoulders, hips, knees in a straight line all the time. Abdominal areas brace, so remember those two hip bones are drawing together as those arms move. If the calves come under too much pressure, then go back to flat-footed. So even if you want to get your hands in underneath and feel those muscles working, so that's the benefit of those exercises, and in the back muscles, you feel those muscles in the center of the spine working all the time. Let's alternate arms, one forward, one back. Try and lengthen the arm back behind, comfortable on the shoulder, while the other one lengthens down by your side. You can always go on at less movement if needs be. If the shoulder is an issue, then just go with smaller movement. Don't bring it back as far if that's hurting the shoulder. Other than that, full movement as always. Let's bring the hands directly above the shoulders, palms facing in, and let's shake the hands in and out. So small, fast. So because the arms are moving fast, the rest of the body has to work a little bit more, small and fast. Let's go 5 beats of the arms as one breath in and out. Get the hands working slightly outside, slightly inside the shoulder joint, directly above. One more big breath in and out, 5 beats, and bringing the hands down by your side. Drop the heels and bring the hips down. Let's get the back stretching by moving the hips. Lengthen the legs, keep the hips moving. Straighten that knee each time. Getting as much movement as you can into the hips. Pull the knee gently each time to get that stretch. Curl the shoulders off and let's get those abdominals working. Keep the legs a little bit higher as always. Lower will be a little bit tougher. More pressure in the back as well. Last repetition each side. And gently hug the knees, pull the knees to the chest. And resting it down. From there, right foot onto our left knee. Let's move side to side. So let's mobilize. So use, for this, I want you to try and get that right foot pushing the knee to the ground. So as that knee is low to the ground, my left knee is close to the ground, my right foot pushes it down. And bring it back. As you go the opposite way, keep that back comfortable, get that movement into that spine. If you want, you can use your left hand to pull it across, but again, that adds a little bit more movement. And we keep moving from side to side. Right knee pushes the right foot pushes the left knee down, and bring it across to the other side. And be aware of all that movement that we get into that spine. Last repetition each way. And bring it out. Switch legs. Right foot is on the ground. My left foot is on the top of my right knee. And that left knee is out to the side. And again, we go to both sides. So drop it to one side. Push. Use that left foot to push that knee down. And then you can pull it across if you want, but again, that's going to create more movement in the spine just below the ribs as well. You're going to feel that stretch. Try and keep that shoulder back. Doesn't need to be on the ground. It just needs to be pushing that direction. And let's make sure that we don't roll and fall into that position. Keep it controlled all the time. Once more of each. And bringing it back in. From there, let's go back into our abdominal exercises. So we're curling the shoulders off, back into our pulling the knee, but this time no hands. Hands down by your side, support if you need to. And now we're not pulling into the stretch. One leg is lengthening as the other leg comes towards you. Nice big breaths as you move. Once more each side. And gently rest it down, legs in tabletop. Keep the head on the ground this time, hands can be down by your side, and tap the toe out. One leg and then the other. Closer to the butt will be easier, further away will be tougher. Either way, there is no movement in your lower back. Abdominal area is nice and firm. The back will be in position, starting in tabletop, keep it there. Tap it. You can always tap it a little bit further away. Again, that adds a little bit more work. Breathe in and breathe out. Once more each side. And give the hip muscles, the leg muscles a rest. Hug the knees, pull the knees to the chest. We're going with the same movement, but this time both legs move at the same time. Alternating. Back to tabletop. One leg goes away while the other knee comes back. Keep it nice and controlled. So again, you can be aware of your lower back position. And you can even get that pause if you want, which adds a little bit more. Once more each. And again, resting it back down. Pull the two knees wide. Open up the inner thighs to get that stretched. Both knees are being pulled apart as wide as you can. And just let those inner thighs, hips, inner thighs right up to the hips, get a stretch. You can slide your knees further away from you if you want. It changes the stretch. And bringing them back in. This time we're curling the shoulders off and we're back to tapping the toe one at a time. Starting with one, stay with it, but let's go straight into both if you can. So one goes away and switch. Bringing it back to tabletop each time, but lower back comfortable. Again, you can bring the toes closer to you. More bend in the knee will make it easier. Once more each side. And gently rest it down. Slide the feet away, go to full stretch. And lengthen. Lift the ribs and arch the back. Even in that position, if you want, you can bring your shoulders a little bit towards the hips, if that makes sense. And that way you can get a little bit more of an arch into your back. And gently bring it back down. Bend the knees, 1 foot, opposite knee, lift the hips. We're back into our shoulder bridge, lift and lower. Full movement, so that leg that's in the air is just resting on that opposite knee. And you can always make it tougher by having that leg off the ground, off the knee rather. Or you can go back to both feet on the ground, which is your easier position again. Once more. And change, switch sides. Again, dropping and lifting, aim for that straight line all the time, every single time. Hands can come off if you don't need them down by your side, or if you want a little bit of help with those shoulders, they can push you up, but as high as the back is comfortable. Once more, and gently resting it down from there. Lifting the legs again, curl the shoulders off, and in that position, let's straighten one leg. Move the arms. You can stay with both legs in tabletop if needs be. Leg stays still and you just move the arms. Doesn't need to go far back. You'll feel the work as the hands start to go above the head. Once more, no rest. Switch other leg straight. Keep working. Finish it through as things get a little bit more tired. We build up a little bit more strength if we keep working, provided everything is not under too much strain. Last one, and gently rest it back down. One more time we will lift, and this time we hold our legs straight. So you keep the legs straight, hands again support the neck at any stage if you have to. Straighten and hold. Easier, just keep the knees bent if that straight leg position puts any pressure on your back. No holding the legs, keep hands down by your side and just breathe. 10 more seconds. Three, two, one, and gently rest it down. Straighten right leg on the ground. Your left knee comes to the opposite side of the body, and get that little bit of a stretch. Changing sides. Starting off by, we keep on changing, but in a second we will hold our position. And on this repetition, let's stay there. And let's open up the spine in rotation. Knee can be as wherever you can. If the knee is touching the ground, roll back a little bit. Make sure the shoulders are on the ground, and then try and go again. And that way you have a little bit of room to work with. You can try and get yourself a little bit further, but try and keep those shoulders close to the ground. And change. Keep the breathing as you hold your position. Remember, after exercising, our body has to recoup the oxygen that it used, that the digestive system uses So we need to keep that breathing going. And that can be why late at night, if you exercise late at night, that it can take a while for you to get to sleep, because the body is still working, the digestive system is still working to recoup that oxygen that you used up, that air that you used. And gently bring it back. Let's open up the hip, pull the knee towards you, and get as much stretch as you can. The other leg, bring it away to the other side. And pull. So open up the hip joint and go into a deep hip stretch. Try not to let the leg on the ground come off the mat. And change. Again, you can pull that knee towards the head more, or you can go a little bit more to the outside if you want. If the flexibility is good and the body's getting in the way, the ribs are getting in the way, then bring it out a little bit more and change the stretch. And gently relax. Bring it up, and let's get a little stretch into the shoulders. So bring it across, comfortable position, doesn't need to be cross-legged. Bring the arm across the body, or you can always just sit up onto the feet, or nice and tall onto the knees. Bring the arm across the body and bring that important stretch into the shoulder joint. So again, today was a little bit more improver level, but you can adjust it either way. You can make it a little bit tougher or a little bit easier by taking that easier option. Change arms. And relax, shake out the arms. Bring the hands back behind and lift the hands up. So you're opening up the chest. This is one option. The other option is to actually bring the hands back behind. If you can, ankles can come under pressure, knees can come under pressure. If you can't sit in your knees like that, then you probably won't be able to. And lift up and open up. So a great stretch to open everything up. Wrists might come under pressure, go on your fist if you need to. Again, if you can't, you stay in previous position where you just go like that. And you bring those shoulders as close together. This is a much more beneficial position, but a much more tougher position.